Okay, what we are going to build is effectively a workflow of an AI agent that can take inbound requests, or actually that can start an outbound conversation with a lead and then take an inbound request such as how much does it cost, what's available at my house, how does your product work, how is it different than company XYZ. It can start the conversation, then take those inbound questions and answer on your behalf as if it were a human being on your team representing your company. And so at the end of this, we're going to basically be building a workflow campaign that this AI agent's hooked up to. But it all starts with just a little bit of a data dump on what it is that we're selling with this AI agent. How much does it cost? What are the FAQs? What are the objections that we can get? And then a simple prompt that gives the AI agent an identity. Okay, and so we're going to start with the prompt that gives the AI agent the identity. Be careful launching campaigns with AI agents that were trained solely on a prompt. Okay, with just a prompt, the AI agent is going to know so little about your company. And if you try to stuff a whole bunch of stuff beyond this template, what you're going to find is that the AI agent will quote unquote hallucinate, which really just means that there's bugs, right? So it's confused. You gave it too much information in a single file. It doesn't know how to parse the data very well because it's in paragraph format, and it's getting confused from one paragraph to another. And so what we do to reinforce that learning is we use RAG and RAG. RAG allows the agent to look up structured forms of data to better inform the AI agent how to answer certain things. And the benefit of using a table like this one or this one or this one is that all of the information is structured. And so there's headers, there's columns and rows that identify if they ask this, here's a decent way to answer the question. And so if the prompt is too much information stuffing, right, then shorten your prompt, maybe tighten it up a bit, and then throw in some tables to give your AI agent a little bit more structured capabilities. And then it will be able to actually sound and talk more like someone on your team, okay? And so that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to show you how we built a simple prompt for a voice agent, and then how we threw in 3 different tables to train not just the voice agent, but also the text agent. And then we'll get into a quick demo of how it works once I finish. And then we'll throw it into an active campaign that'll be kind of end to end. So we're going to try to get this done in under 30 minutes if possible. So this is a nice starter template. First paragraph, what we're basically looking at is the identity of the AI agent. So I'm going to zoom in. In this case, I've highlighted everything in yellow as well as in brackets that you'll want to change out. And so what we're going to do is we are going to say you are XYZ company, right? So this is just a made up name, XYZ company. You're a representative of an author, and let's just say you're a representative of XYZ company. The recipient that you are calling is a prospective customer who recently inquired for more information from XYZ company, aka they're a lead. In order to get a quote on, let's say, this is probably something we'd want to put into yellow highlights as well. And so I'm going to highlight this bad boy, and then we are going to go to work on it. So in this case, what we're really looking at are various types of internet services, okay? And so home internet services for consumers, that's what XYZ company sells in this example. You can change out all of these yellow highlighted sections with really anything that you're actually selling, and it would work just as well. But first paragraph, that's what you want it to be. Second paragraph, give it its goal. So your first initiative is to remind them, as in the prospective customer or lead in this case, that they inquired about home internet pricing plans, and to confirm if you have their permission to continue. So in other words, you get a hold of them. What's your goal here, right? Well, firstly, for TCPA, you want to remind them why you're calling and why you're outbound messaging them. It's because they asked you to, so they opted in to receive these messages via AI. If they say they're not interested anymore, end the call. This is just common courtesy. AI agents aren't great at staying on a call with someone who's already said hang up. It'll just make the person angry, so instruct it to hang up the call if you get a no. If they say yes, this is where the AI agent will kick in. So we'll continue the call, and we'll let them know that you need to ask one question. I'll put this part in yellow because that might be more than one question. And then I'm put in here kind of in case there's more than one. In our situation, we're going to ask just one before you can transfer them to a live agent who can get them a price quote. So that's the goal here, is we are trying to transfer them, right, to a live agent in order to get them a live price quote. So I'm going to put this in yellow too. Everything in yellow will change from your company to the next company watching this video, but I am taking XYZ company into account. They sell home internet services. This was basically a lead who asked them to call us. And when we call them, we need to ask them one question in order to get them a proper price quote. Now, let's get into the meat of the conversation. They've now said yes, they are still interested in internet. We need to now get one answer to one question before we can transfer the call to the live agent. Otherwise, we can't transfer them to the live agent because the lead's really not qualified, right? Question one, and the only question here, is, are you interested in getting internet for your home or business? Now, this one's really important to XYZ company because if they're not interested in getting internet, there's really no point in transferring the call to their sales floor because XYZ company can't sell something to someone who doesn't want it or need it, right? End of story. AI is just triaging the call to the sales floor. So its goal is to get a hold of the person, confirm interest, and then transfer them to the sales floor. Now, I add a paragraph to instruct the AI agent to remember that they need to ask this question. This is what I was talking about earlier, that AI agents can really hallucinate, especially in voice. If you don't clearly tell them that they need to ask this question to every single person before moving on, what you might find is that the AI agent gets really distracted from the greeting and how that recipient that you're calling, the called party, responds to that greeting, right? If you don't tell the AI agent exactly what to do in chronological order, it might get distracted and just have a nice little chat with the called party and transfer them to the sales floor without ever asking the question. So I literally have 3 paragraphs telling them, you need to get an answer to this question. This is the question. And then I have this one that says, please ask the question and wait for the answer, meaning do not continue this conversation until this caller or this called party tells you the answer to this question. What the recipient responds with will dictate whether or not they're qualified to be transferred. In order to be qualified and transferred, the caller must be interested in getting internet for home or business. Now, this seems a little repetitive, but I promise you this template works. If you get rid of this paragraph, it will hallucinate. You have to have this paragraph to reiterate in order for the AI agent to know it literally cannot move on without getting this question answered. Next one, if they are not interested in getting internet for their home or business, they're unqualified, and you should tell them that you appreciate their time and hang up. This is a further explanation of what we referenced here earlier. If they say no, hang up the call, right? What I'm saying is, if they say no, the reason we're hanging up the call is because they're unqualified. End of story. Your only job is to qualify this person. They're not qualified. Hang up the phone. You've done your job. Excellent work. Machine learning officially reinforced. Your goal has been completed. If the caller, though, asks to book a meeting or speak with a human, this is a common thing where a recipient might be frustrated with AI and just wants you to call them back, or call them back with a human, or they might just be busy. And so they're interested in internet, but they can't really talk right now, right? In that case, tell them they'll receive a text message with booking instructions shortly after the call and hang up the phone, right? So this is where the web app workflow is really important because you can piggyback text message conversations onto the voice agent that gets a hold of them. And so we're just giving the AI agent access to multiple channels and then the prompt that trains them on how to engage those multiple channels in a sequence. Next paragraph, this is where we get into like objection handling, by the way. So these 3 things are just things that you want the agent to know if the call doesn't go as planned and they start asking you to book a meeting for later, or they're frustrated, you're an AI agent, what do you do? Basically, what do you do if they aren't answering this question, right? So these are just a little bit of information on what they should do in those scenarios. In scenario 2, they're asking for pricing, and we do have more elaborate information in RAG for pricing. I'll get into that in a bit, but for the voice agent, we do want like a simple, at least initial answer to the initial rebuttal to the objection. So what we want the AI agent to do is explain that we have 3 pricing plans. Most affordable is $30 a month, 500 megabytes, 2-year price guarantee. If you don't want to bundle internet, we've got $50 a month. That's plan 2, 500 megs, 1-year guarantee. If you need more speed, $70 a month, 1 gig. That's plan 3, right? So really simple pricing. Just answer the price point We will get into more complicated stuff later, so train it on everything else that you could sell. And so what it's referencing here, right, is like 30, 50, right? It's just referencing the basic plans for one potential internet that they could purchase, but there's a whole lot more. We're going to train it in RAG so that it can represent a lot of different internet plans. Last one, if the caller asks if you're human, obviously that's a pretty interesting tell. Called parties will say something like, "Are you a human? Are you AI?" And that's a good tell that they're kind of frustrated. You have failed the Turing test, which is not uncommon for voice agents to fail the Turing test. And what that means is they probably aren't going to be happy with you for the rest of the call. So just transfer them to an agent immediately. I'm going to put this in yellow because some people might not want to transfer, even if they recognize the caller is frustrated. But I promise you that the LLMs that are transcribing voice to text will recognize that the person's frustrated the second they start asking if you're an AI agent. And so it's going to want to know what to do in those scenarios. And if you don't tell them what to do, then it's just going to go back to repeating this question here. And then the called party is going to say, "I don't want to talk to you, speak to an agent." I've literally listened to these calls where they just say, "Agent, agent, 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 transfer me to an agent," over and over and over again. And so you as a business owner, remember, if you don't give it this final instruction, it's just going to repeat the question and make the called party super angry. And so this template actually I think is great. It does really good at transferring people to the sales floor when they're qualified, transferring them to the sales floor when they're interested but frustrated by the AI, and then unqualifying and ending the call for people that are just going to waste your sales team's time. So this is a solid template. You're going to take this prompt, you're going to load it into the workflow, and then it will represent you in text and voice. But we are now going to layer in a little more RAG. So what do we do with objections that are very specific and the rebuttal that's tied to that objection? I'm just going to do 2 here in this example because I don't want to go nuts with this demonstration. You can add as many as you want here. In this case, we're going to say really common objections for people buying internet from XYZ company, right? Again, made up company. Would be, is this internet even available at my address? That's a pretty common objection if you sell internet, because people buying internet are used to seeing an ad, like a Super Bowl ad, to get a big discount if they sign up for T-Mobile home internet. And then they call in, they find out it's oversold in their area, so they can't even get it. Or they see like a billboard ad for Google Fiber, they get home, they find out it's not available. So consumers and businesses have been trained to ask this objection. The rebuttal is, our availability changes every month. We can check again to see if it's available for you now. Basically, hey, maybe in the past it wasn't available, but today it might be. It's worth a try. That's a solid rebuttal. Next one, every time I go into your store, it takes hours to get help. Rebuttal, we can sign you up virtually so you don't have to wait in lines or visit any of the retail locations. These are really common objections for people selling internet. You can add more there and change them obviously for your company. If they're totally relevant, that's fine. Like if you don't sell internet, that's fine. You can still use the same template for objections. FAQs the same. I'm just going to put 1 in here, but you could add like 50. First one, really common one. Can I bring my phone or do I need to buy a new one? This is if you're going to bundle voice with your internet, and it is really commonly asked. And so the answer here is you can transfer your phone over to us during the registration process. Cool. Great. Add as many as you want in basically a unique row for each unique question and answer. And same thing with the objection handling. 1 unique row for every objection and rebuttal. Final bit here, pricing table. I went a little overboard on this, I think. I realized when I finished it. This is probably too many examples. But long story short, this is like if you've got a whole suite of products, and I really wanted to show how robust you could make it. So brand, you'll notice that the brand here changes. They've got a handful of different SKUs. A handful of different brands that they can broker. You probably as a business owner also have that option. They also have individual SKUs inside of each brand. So Spectrum, Internet Plan 1, Internet Plan 2, Internet Plan 3, Optimum Plan 1, 2, 3, etc. Right? The product name goes in column B. The category of what it is here. So like if it's internet or voice lines or dental cleaning or whatever, right? Whatever it is that you sell, put it into a category, put it into the product name, and put the brand name there. If you don't have brand names and it's just all your company's products, that's fine. Just put your company name in the brand name. But if you broker other people's products like an e-commerce store does or a call center does, That's what you'll do with column A. In column D, what we're doing is just straight up pricing. So what does it cost? What is the interval? In this case, 30 a month, 50 a month, $129.99 a month, whatever, right? Pretty solid column to just tell the AI agent exactly the price point so that it knows how to answer questions about pricing. And then the final bit is features. This is actually important because if someone who's talking to the AI agent says, okay, well, I mean, why would I pay $50 a month if you have something for $30 a month? This makes tons of sense for a recipient to ask that question. The AI agent needs features to say, oh, well, when I compare the $50 a month plan, right, versus the $30 a month plan, what I see is they both have 500 megs, right? The difference, though, is, let's see, the first column assumes that you're having mobile and TV bundled, right? So it's talking about TV channels and unlimited mobile lines. This plan only talks about mobile but doesn't talk about TV, and so basically you're paying more because you're not bundling it, right? End of story. That's the answer. The AI agent now knows how to answer it. If you just want true internet, $50 a month. If you want a cheaper internet line, you can do it, but you got to bundle TV. So $30 a month will be your internet plan. You might pay a little more for TV to be bundled on top, but it does save you at least on this particular SKU. So features column is super important in here in order to get that information to the AI agent. So long story short, this is a pretty advanced table on pricing and looks a little more like an e-commerce company or a broker-dealer than your company might be, but that's okay. You can make it more simple, or you can make it way more robust with hundreds of rows. That's totally fine too. So what we do is we basically take these 4 documents, you download them, and then you load them into the web application to train the AI agent, right? The AI agent then will effectively have a demo ready for you. And so I'm going to demonstrate a good example of this particular company. I've already loaded these files in to the AI agent, and it now has RAG installed. And so I'm going to change the prompt so that it's a little bit more in line with our particular demo we're talking about. So hello, this is XYZ company. You requested a quote for home internet. Would you prefer a callback in the morning or the evening? That's fine. I'm going to change this a bit, though, because I want to talk about pricing and serviceability. So can you send us your address so we can see what's available at your location? That's a solid pitch because it ends with a question, and that prompts the recipient to answer a very targeted question that will effectively kick off and play really well into all these documents we created that are all around getting a price quote, confirming interest, and transferring to a human. So we're prompting the person to go down the funnel where the AI agent knows best how to represent your company. Let's validate this real quick. That gets the chatbot ready to roll, or I should say the AI agent. Chatbots can't really easily fetch RAG and things. AI agents can. They can look into multiple systems of record, so technically that's the proper term here. All right, now, this is XYZ company. You requested a quote for home internet. Can you send us your address so we can see what's available at your location? That is the text message that, in this case, a lead who has asked XYZ company to call them will receive. Now, we are assuming they did not pick up the phone in this example because I am texting, emailing, or WhatsApp messaging them. However, had they picked up the phone, the script would be extremely similar in voice as it is in text. The context here, so this would basically just be an SMS sent to the recipient, and they would be texting back on their phone. For the purposes of this demo, I just use this UX, this interface, so that you can see a full conversation in thread, because if I was typing on my phone, you wouldn't be able to see any of this stuff. But just imagine this is either an email, SMS, WhatsApp, or voice. A conversation would be very similar. So let's answer the question and play as if we were the called party here. My address is 253 Corbett Avenue, San Francisco, California, 94114. That is an old address of a friend of mine. Don't know who lives there anymore, but I don't know what's available at the house, and neither does the called party. So let's just find out. So we tell the AI agent our address based on the prompt they've asked us. the AI agent goes and looks up, and it says, it looks like T-Mobile home internet should be available at your location. And then it remembers, oh yeah, going back to my prompt, right? My goal is to confirm interest, right? They've clearly confirmed interest, but then I got to get them on the phone with a human. So I got to get them transferred to a live agent. And so that's what it's doing. It's remembering, okay, I've answered your question. You're a hot lead, but when can we call you, right? So it remembers its objective is to have a preferred time for the call. So on the left, what you're getting is this JSON file that basically gives explanations as to why it said this, etc., what model it used, right? So in this case, ChatGPT, OpenAI, you could use any model that you want, right? But it basically puts it into a structured JSON file, then tells you scores hot, 9 out of 10, because they've provided their address, which indicates interest. That's clearly a signal they need to book a meeting. However, we can't book a meeting because we don't know the time, we don't know the day, we don't know their time zone. We're just assuming it's LA time on today's date, but we don't know when to call. So anytime there's these NAs, right, the AI agent knows it's got to get the answer provided. So it asks, when's a good time for a call? Let's say, I don't know, let's just say tomorrow, 10 a.m., right? So tomorrow, 10 a.m. is the answer that I have texted back to the AI agent. The AI agent is now going to reassess this conversation, and it's going to say, excellent, thanks for your response. We will call you at your preferred time. So it now has identified that it is 10 a.m. Pacific time zone, and it has effectively booked the call. So long story short, this was a massive success. The AI agent accomplished its goal. Inside of the web application, what we'll build now is effectively adding this AI agent to a live campaign that actually could take action and book this meeting. And so final step, once you've kind of tested this a couple times, let's do a couple of like objection handling tests just to make sure that it's actually working. So this is XYZ company. You asked for a quote. Can you send us your address? Let's say, how much does it cost? How much does it cost? Cool. Let's get them down a different path. So we did have training on pricing. The serviceability and availability is just an API that can be fetched. So you can train the AI agent to fetch an API. But if they start asking about pricing, it's going to ask, what are you looking for, cell phone or home internet? Let's say home internet, right? I've trained it on a lot of home internet pricing plans here. And then it's going to go back. It is then going to present a couple of categories of internet pricing plans. If it works, that's what it should be doing. At which point I will pick which category I'm looking for. It says home internet unlimited, $55 a month with autopay. And then it remembers, okay, what time can we chat, right? So totally fine. It has answered the question about pricing properly. It has identified which category I want, voice line or internet. This is, again, why it's important to have a category column in your RAG, because you want to make sure that you're answering the right questions and not just data dumping like 15 different products into your replies. So then it asks for the call. I could get into like tomorrow. I could do that exact same meeting booking conversation, but we've already proved that that worked perfectly fine. So let's do another one, and let's say we've done how much does it cost? We've done let's do a simple call me tomorrow, right? So we're not going to answer the question, and we're just going to test its meeting booking capabilities and see what kind of lead score we get if we don't answer the question that it wants. So we're basically changing the conversation to see if it breaks the AI agent. This happens a lot. People don't always answer the questions the way you prompt them, and you want to make sure that it's not hallucinating. So we're going to really test this prompt. I said, call me tomorrow. It says, great, tell me a preferred time for a call. So what you'll notice is it's abandoned its goal of figuring out if internet is available at your house and answering questions about pricing, because the recipient has taken the conversation down a different path. And so we want to read this JSON file real quick and see why. So instead of saying that it's a score 9 out of 10 hot because they have given us their address, it has said that they are interested as they've requested a callback and provided a time frame. So they just skipped the whole thing around. What's it cost? Is it available? And they just went straight to, I'm interested, call me. And so it still recognizes that it's a hot lead, but it also knows it needs a time and day, right? And so I'm going to say, let's say now, right? And now provides a lot of context because now is this minute on this day within this time zone, right? And so the AI agent is just going to book the meeting for right now. So I can't really get it to break or hallucinate in this demo. And if you guys are happy at this moment in time, what you would do is load it into workflow. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to finish this thing up. We're going to call this XYZ company. I like to give it a little bit of context. So form fill to, let's say, outbound meeting booking, right? So the goal is someone has filled out a form fill for XYZ company. We want to outbound message them. Goal is to get a meeting booked, right? Meeting book, whatever. That's the name of the campaign. The prompt, I'm just going to copy this prompt. I like that one. It was a pretty solid prompt. We're going to put that into the pitch. This is where you can build Zapier connections and stuff. I'm going to skip this step. And we're going to move on to channels because this is something I've got a whole bunch of other videos on how you can build integrations with AI agents. We're going to skip that though. Go to those other videos. That's a longer process because it's around integrating automations in your tech stack. This video is really about training AI agents to represent your company. So we are assuming you've already hooked it up to your form fill in this video. We're going to skip that step. I'm going to choose the channels. Let's say I want to do this on WhatsApp, email, and SMS. Now, for the purposes of this, we don't need to choose voice. Voice is already included in all campaigns. So let's do meeting. Let's do XYZ company internet pricing is the subject line of the email. Prompt is going to be here. I'm going to make this prompt a little different. So I think in email, technically you should write it as if it were an email. So I'm going to add a greeting. This is XYZ company. I'm going to bottom line write this a bit with a unique row for each kind of individual thought. This is XYZ company. I don't know if I would put an exclamation point there. You requested a quote for home internet. Then I'm going to return space. Can you send us your address so we can see what's available at your location? Now, we don't need to put in like a signature line or your address because part of CAN spam law requires that that be included in every email. And so any workflow that you build will just have it included. It's just out of the box, ready to roll. But long story short, after this, there will also be a meeting booking link and then someone's signature line. If you don't want a meeting booking link, you just toggle this bad boy off. I'd keep it on though because some people don't want to reply. Some people don't want to say like, call me tomorrow at 9 a.m., right? They don't want to do it that way and book a meeting that way. Sometimes they just want to click a link. And so if you toggle this on, it's going to give them two options. They can either reply a time when you can meet in active conversation, and you've seen several examples of that, or they can click a meeting and book it. SMS, let's go over to that channel. The characters are a little bit lower, so I'm just going to get rid of the hello and see if it fits. Still need to cut a little more. You requested a quote for, let's say, internet. Can you send, let's get rid of us. Can you send your address so we can see what's available? Can you send your address to see what's available at your location? Cool. That is now under the character limit of 130. It's going to include a calendar booking link as well. Template SID for WhatsApp. Actually, let's turn off WhatsApp, but because I don't have a template SID ready to go. And so you basically need to get all templated outbound messages on WhatsApp pre-approved. And then they give you a template SID, and you paste that in there. And then as long as your prompt perfectly matches your SID, it'll allow you to use the API to send the message. I'm not going to do it because I don't have that template ready to go. But let's go to the next step. Final bit, this is my favorite part. So follow-ups. Everybody who works in outbound, especially if you're using AI, knows that automating the first message is, you can use so many tools can do this, like HubSpot, Salesforce, Go High Level, Zapier. You don't need those tools. You don't need AI to do an initial message. AI is really critical when you're trying to do things like follow TCPA laws or do complicated sales process follow-up attempts to get a hold of someone. And so this particular part is where you give it a humongous competitive advantage. The AI agent now can do significantly more than it ever could if you were just using some kind of RPA tool like HubSpot. So what we're going to do is we're going to give it a sales process. You work as an AI agent, let's say Monday through Friday. I only want you making calls to these recipients from 10 a.m. to, let's say, like 4 p.m. and Central Standard Time, right? So this would basically be no earlier than 8 a.m. Pacific, and it would be no later than 5 p.m. Eastern. I think that's pretty standard. Honestly, you could go even further. Technically, the calling hours for TCPA are 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So that's the regulations around outbound dialing and texting. You can't do it before 8 a.m. or after 8 p.m. And that is in the time zone of the recipient. So it's safer to say 10 a.m. To 7 p.m. Central Time, because that means it's 8 a.m. in California and it is 8 p.m. in New York. And so you are safe if you choose these time zones. It will always be within the proper working hours, no matter where in the United States mainland that your recipient is at. So I think that's a safe time. You could always make it even more conservative and do like 11 a.m. to let's say, to I don't know, 6, right? Then you've got an extra hour buffer on both ends of the ending time zone, on both ends of the working hours, so that you have really no chance of breaking TCPA laws. So let's just assume that's what you want to do. Working hours 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Central. Next part, how many times do you want this AI agent to follow up? Now, I would do as many as you think you've needed in order to get a hold of past leads. The goal here is to increase your contact rate as high as you can. So I'm going to say 5 times. And if after 5 attempts through voice, SMS, and email, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m., if I haven't gotten a hold of them after 5 attempts, I'm done, right? I'm going to leave you alone. You clearly have lost interest. You're not replying. You're not answering the phone. We're going to move on. Now, daily limits. This one's cool because you can make this campaign last as long as you want or be as fast as you want. If you've got a really important speed to lead requirement, like if you're a personal injury lawyer and the first lawyer to get a hold of them basically wins the case, then you might want to say your daily limit in this case is 5. And what this tells the AI agent is you have from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m., Monday through Friday, to make 5 attempts all in the first 24 hours, right? So that's what it tells it. It's basically a super aggressive AI agent that will call, text, email the recipient 5 times in the next 24 hours because there's a speed to lead requirement, and that lead is going to basically have time decay. It's going to rot if we don't execute the sales process. And some organizations have that. Others might say, whoa, dude, that's way too aggressive. 1 follow-up per day. And so what this does is the AI agent will follow up 5 times, but only once a day. And so if the lead enters on Monday, they won't actually finish this campaign. The AI agent won't actually leave them alone until Friday. It'll be 1 message Monday, 1 on Tuesday, 1 on Wednesday, 1 on Thursday, 1 on Friday. In this case, let's do 3 a day. So the way this would work is 3 attempts will be made on Monday, 2 on Tuesday. Let's do an example of 4. And let's say that they filled out the form at 5 p.m. on Wednesday. Okay, so lead enters this workflow Wednesday, 5 p.m. AI agent will do its first attempt Wednesday at 5 p.m. However, every attempt needs to be at least 4 hours spread out. And so it will be after 6 o'clock on Wednesday by the time it's ready to do its second attempt. And so what it will do is it will kick in Thursday at 11 a.m. That's attempt number 2. And then it can do up to 4. And so there are basically 4 left. So the first attempt will be on Wednesday. The next 4 will all be on Thursday within 4 hours in between each attempt. So 11 a.m., 12, 1, 2, 3 p.m., and then 7 p.m. Oops, we're over the time limit again. So I'm actually wrong about that. I'll backtrack a bit. The next 2 attempts will be Friday. So in this example, you're basically telling the AI agent, first message on Wednesday, 2 on Thursday, 2 on Friday, right? And it's because your working hours are very tight. You could make that a little bit more aggressive by, again, like being a little more liberal on your working hours starting and end time. But either way, you get the point. I think these exercises are designed to match your sales process. So put your sales process in and the AI agent will follow it. Final bit, if they haven't replied at all, instead of just like pasting the same message every single attempt, give it something like just following up. We have a special for $100 gift card if you take a booked meeting within the next 24 hours. Whatever. I'm just making this stuff up, clearly. And then in SMS, you've got a shorter character limits. Let's say something like get $100 gift card if you book now, right? If you book. Cool. That both fits. If you hit pitch it, what it's going to do is basically, this campaign is going to be sitting, waiting, listening. Anytime someone fills out the form fill on your site for XYZ company, it is going to initiate this exact AI agent in voice, text, email, WhatsApp in order to get a hold of the recipient, ask them if they're interested in internet, and it will be capable of answering questions about how much your products cost, the common FAQs, and any of the objection handling. And so that end-to-end is basically how you build an AI agent that can represent your company and be fully trained on all of the things about your business, with the main goal of effectively replacing an SDR, a human being. And it will book meetings, and it will get people onto your sales calendar who are super qualified, know how much stuff costs, and have committed to signing up at that price point for that particular product. If you guys have any questions, let me know. But either way, thanks for watching. Cheers.